Hello, and welcome everyone to our webinar, How to Enhance Data Protection with Managed Offsite Disaster Recovery. Before we get started, I just wanted to remind everyone that if you have questions throughout the presentation, please feel free to drop those into the question box below, and we'll address those in a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce my colleague David Boland and our co-presenter today, Eric Dey, to get started.
All right, let's get started. Hello, friends, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is David Boland. I'm on the product marketing team here at Wasabi. Joining me today as well is Eric Dey from Caringo. He's the head of the product team over there, and together we're going to spend the next 40 minutes or so discussing how to enhance data protection with managed offsite recovery. Recently, Caringo announced a seamless disaster recovery service called Swarm Cloud DR. It leverages the data protection methods that have always been part of Swarm with the ability to add a remote disaster recovery site that's powered by Wasabi. Eric's going to spend some time providing an overview of Caringo, the problems they solve, how they do it, and he's going to introduce us to the Swarm Cloud Disaster Recovery features and functionality. I'm going to provide an overview of Wasabi and who we are, what makes us different from other clouds, and I'll focus in this case a lot on our security performance and why that makes a great fit with the Caringo service. We're going to wrap it up with a little Q&A, and so if you have any questions, you're going to find the questions portal on the webinar control panel. Just type them in and we'll get to them either during the discussion, if I've got some downtime while Eric talks, or at the end we'll cover all the questions. And so with that, I'd like to now turn it over to Eric Dey, the great and powerful Eric Dey. It's up to you.
Thank you, David. I don't know about powerful, but I'll take that. So thank you very much. Happy to be here today and talk about how the product offering that we've got really complements each other. Caringo was founded in 2005, and we started the company to change the economics of data storage by enabling what was kind of a new thing at the time, which was software-defined object storage, even though it wasn't called object storage at the time. But it really was the same thing. And what we noticed was that there was relentless data growth that was already occurring at that time, and an aspect of that data growth was that people didn't tend to get rid of anything, and they were creating data faster and faster. Today, Caringo we're at version 11. We've been market hardened over the past many years. We have both a software-only offering as well as a combined hardware and software solution for companies that want to buy the entire thing from us. We are widely adopted in verticals like media and entertainment, high-performance computing, and government spaces. Our solution is used at organizations such as Disney Streaming Services, NEP, Real Salt Lake, BT Sport, Kinetic, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, National Institutes of Health, Argonne National Labs, Rutherford Appleton Labs, the Brazilian federal court system, as well as hundreds of others worldwide. So problems that Caringo solves is, as I was saying, the how do you store an ever-growing amount of data, but not just storing it, but how do you use it once you've stored it. So we've got a lot of we've got a lot of blogs and webinars on topics such as, rather than just put data into the system and then be happy that it's there, how do you actually make use of it once it's in the system by multiple applications? How do you do collaboration between different sites? So think of active sites where you've got multiple geographies around the country or around the world that need to have access to the same content, and create and share that content in real time with each other. Our other problems that we solve is the one of administration. How does a human manage multiple racks worth of hardware? How do you manage when drives fail? And I don't say if, drives fail, servers fail, power supplies fail. And so, you need a system that is designed to automatically take care of those problems without requiring human intervention. And the last problems that people use this for is for compliance and data protection. So data protection is what we're going to talk about today. Is the Wasabi is a nice complement to our existing story there. So Caringo Swarm is on-prem S3 enabled object storage. Our system is set up to rapidly scale up, and there are no arbitrary limits built in to our scaling capacity. And rapid scale up is, I know that everybody who has a storage product says that they allow for easy scaling, but that's easy to say. It's harder to start from the engineering premise that I'm going to design a product that assumes that the data is going to live longer than the hardware that it's on. And so from the beginning, we built the system with the assumption that your hardware that you deploy today will not be there in 3 or 5 years, that you will add new hardware. And so how do you make the system automatically handle that hardware coming and going from it? Efficiency is key anytime you're running at scale. For example, our disks in the system, we let you use up to 95% of the raw capacity on your drives for our storage. Because we are on so many different customers, we have to have a very flexible deployment, meaning that we adapt to a lot of different use cases, small files, medium files, large files, and more often than not, a combination of all of those. And so you can't have a system that works best with one type and completely forgets about the other types of storage. You need something that can handle a very large mix of use cases. Kind of key to that, what I was saying about making it easy to administer, is that the system must react and have built-in data protection and built-in recovery when things fail. Drives will fail, servers will fail, and so the system just needs to handle that. And then how do you organize data? That's another thing that we do. We it's not just enough to store it there. You need to be able to make use of it and really capture more value out of your data once it has been stored. We do that with our built-in searching and querying capabilities. I also mentioned that we're used for compliance with things such as integrity seals and worm and legal hold. So our value proposition is around efficiency. When you do the actual math with other solutions that are out there, it's easy to say, well, they do erasure coding, we do erasure coding, therefore the overhead is X. If you just compute the ratio, that's a starting point, but you need to get into the operational aspects of it too, such as how much of that raw storage are they going to take for operating systems and their own overhead in the system? Can they use 95% of a disk? And so we're happy to share with you how we came up with these numbers, but we can be 20 to 30% less overhead than other solutions, and also significantly reduce the physical footprint of other solutions when you compare us to other on-prem storage. Our performance is outstanding. We have a white paper out there that's available for download where we do a real world performance study at a customer site on customer hardware that the customer bought for production. So it's not a performance study where we went and rented a bunch of exotic hardware or burned $10,000 for one day's worth of run in a cloud someplace so we could run on SSDs or in RAM to try to come up with the number. No, we produced a real performance number that is from the actual production deployment hardware. And then other values are accessibility. Can you access data from any protocol that the typical applications are trying to use? HTTP straight through the web, S3 protocol, NFS. And then, to go along with accessibility, you need to have a way to protect and manage that data so that you can make it accessible in a way that is palatable to you, not just opening it all up to the world. So I mentioned that we are software-defined storage. Many of our customers bring their own hardware to the solution, and we're very flexible with that. That allows customers to buy hardware that makes sense for their deployment. But there are also customers that I mentioned that want to buy both the combined hardware and software solution from us. And so we do have a line of hardware that starts from the small single server appliance and goes up through very dense, large bricks of storage hardware. So this kind of gives you the continuum here of our hardware offering. As I said, we can start as small as a single appliance. We can start with a smaller, 500 terabyte sized footprint, and scale up into multiples, multi petabytes, multiple racks worth of hardware. So the topic of today's discussion then is how do we take our on-prem solution and how do we complement that with cloud storage? We have, as David mentioned, had site-to-site data protection built into our product for a very long time now. And the natural evolution of that is protecting to cloud, remote cloud as a service like Wasabi. We have a complete managed solution in our Swarm Cloud DR. The aspects of this for our customers is that while we do have a good number of customers that have multiple sites, we have just as many customers that don't want to spend the money or the energy to set up another site. And so this is where the Cloud DR really comes into play here, is that just over immediately within a day you can have a remote replication to a fully protected secondary site. So our solution includes 3 years of Wasabi storage and access to it. And if something goes wrong and you need to recover data, we'll be there to walk you through the recovery process and manage and watch over it, and give you the expertise of what we know about how the recovery process works. That's it.
Okay. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for the overview. I know I'm familiar with Caringo, and for those of you who weren't before today, hope you have a much better idea of Caringo and the disaster recovery solution they have to offer. Now, I want to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about Wasabi, who we are, why we're different from other clouds, and why the Wasabi Caringo partnership is a great fit for our customers and for our channel partners. If you're not familiar with Wasabi, I'll just do a quick couple minutes here. We were founded in 2015 by two storage pioneers, David Friend and Jeff Flowers. Prior to Wasabi, they had co-founded Carbonite. They have a real strong background in storage and object storage and backup and the cloud. And in 2015, they had a pretty good idea for some new cloud features and functionalities that weren't available from AWS or Azure or IBM or Google or the big hyperscalers. And they wanted to focus on that. So they spent 2 years designing an operating system and designing file system, and they handpick specific hardware. And in 2017, we launched our service. It's simple. We have a laser-like focus on cloud object storage. And what we wanted to do was make cloud object storage easy to use and easy to understand and a lot less expensive than the competition. We want cloud object storage to be simple to use, almost like a commodity, almost like plugging something into an electrical outlet or to a water spigot. So we focus on, we call it the 3 Ps, but there are three areas that we specifically focus on. That's price, performance, and protection. We are 80% less expensive than AWS S3. And we specifically set out to have no egress charges and no API request charges. The majority of our customers come to us through channel partners, through resellers, VARs, and through technology alliance partners like Caringo. We embrace the channel, we embrace partnerships, and we want to make it as easy as possible for not only the end users to understand Wasabi pricing and Wasabi architecture, but for everybody. So it's really simple to understand, and our cost savings then are passed on to the end user. If we make our service as inexpensive as possible, that savings goes on to the end user, and that's why our partnership with Caringo is important, because this cloud DR service is inexpensive and easy to use, easy to understand. Now, on the performance side, we do some things a lot different than other providers that allow us to have quick performance on upload and download. I'll talk about that more in a moment, but we consider ourselves hot cloud storage. That means that all data stored in Wasabi is available in milliseconds. It's not in a cold archive tier someplace that takes hours or half a day or even longer to get back to you when you need it. In the case of backup or disaster recovery, you want your data and you want it now. You don't have to wait hours and put in multiple requests in order to get that transferred back to you. It happens within milliseconds. And also, I'll spend some time talking about our protection. Competing with hyperscalers like AWS, Azure, GCP, and IBM, data protection is table stakes. You want to sit at the table with the big boys, you got to be able to be at par or better than the competition. And I'll spend some time, like I said, talking about that. Just a little bit about us more from a corporate perspective. Like I said, we went live in 2017 with our service, and since then we have, we've closer to 20,000 customers now. We have at any given time 5,000 customers in trials. We have a free 30-day trial offer that's available out there if you want to kick the tires and test object storage and create buckets. It's free to do. We won't ask for a credit card. We won't bother you or automatically enroll you. Kick the tires, run the trials. Like I said, there's usually about 5,000 customers doing that at any given month. We have 5 data centers across the world right now. We have more coming. There's 2 in Virginia, 1 on the West Coast in Oregon. Amsterdam went live last fall, and then Tokyo is live this spring. We're going to see a build out going forward, multiple locations in North America and other parts of the world by the end of the year. So keep an eye on this. We're going to have plenty of data sites coming to you very quickly. Now, I mentioned performance. Wasabi has a distributed storage architecture that provides better performance than you're going to see on AWS S3, Azure, or IBM. I'm not talking about the Glacier or Archive type performance. I'm talking hot performance. S3, Azure Blob Hot. We distribute our functions across 3 different types of servers. There's the user server that terminates the S3 connections. As Eric mentioned earlier, they provide erasure coding on their side. We do the same on our side. It helps us for redundancy and keeps the cost a lot lower. 16:4 erasure coding on our part. We move then it moves the data blocks to our storage servers, and we keep all the object information in our database servers. All of these are tied together with multiple 100 gigabit Ethernet links for a high-speed connection. These servers are in our data centers. I'll talk more about data centers in a moment, but they're all attached to high-speed interconnects across the globe, multiple 100 megabit 100 gig each, or in some cases 10 gig. We have also a performance benchmark on our website that outlines the results of 40 tests that we ran against S3. Out of the 40 tests, there were 36 tests where we outperformed S3. There were 4 corner cases where S3 had the advantage with regards to object size or with the regards to the number of cores that were being used, but I'll take 36 out of 40. My kid will tell me that's still a pretty good grade at school. But yeah, so the important tests to look at here, they run them in all different sizes, but I show here the 100K, 100 meg block size tests. Those are fantastic to give you a benchmark of where Wasabi fits with regards to performance versus other clouds. Now, on the protection side, let's talk a little bit about security. Probably the biggest issue, besides cost, security is probably the #1 issue with regards to cloud. By default, data stored in Wasabi is always encrypted at rest. Even if that data is coming in already encrypted by the storage application, if it's coming to us from Caringo, of course it's encrypted on flight. If it's already coming to us encrypted, we again encrypt it prior to sending it to the storage server. HTTPS is supported for secure uploads and downloads of the data. Buckets are only accessible to the bucket and object creators. Wasabi supports user authentication and control access to all the data. Access control mechanisms such as bucket policies and access control lists, ACLs, ACLs, can be used to grant permissions to users and groups of users. Wasabi storage service on the security side, on the data security side, the physical security side, is housed in Tier 4 data centers. Tier 4 is the highest rating there is for data centers. Each Tier 4 data center has 2 independent and diverse utility paths to it. They're fully redundant. They're rated at 99.995% availability, which means that there's less than half an hour of downtime per year. And each of our facilities has at least 96 hours of power protection. So if in the wild scenario where the multiple utility lines coming from different directions do go down, we've got about 100 hours of backup battery juice that runs our data centers. And so the security is there. Our data centers are certified SOC 2 and ISO 27001 compliant. Now, what does that mean? SOC 2 is an auditing procedure created by the American, is the AICAP, the American Institute for Certified Public Accountants. They perform outside audits of data centers, and they inspect for 5 principles to make sure data is safe. 1 is security, 2 is availability, 3, processing and integrity, 4 is confidentiality, and 5 is privacy. So SOC 2, critically important. We're SOC 2 certified. On the ISO 27001 front, ISO is International Standard Organization, right? They have the 27001 certification is for information management, information security and management. Has 114 different controls that they task to. Long story short, if your data is sitting in a cloud that is a Tier 4 data center and is certified SOC 2 and is ISO 27001 compliant, you're going to sleep well at night. Your data is safe. It's not going to be, you're not going to lose it due to some natural disaster. 2, let's talk about data durability and reliability. So the feature we have is called an immutable bucket. Wasabi immutable buckets are really simple. Anything you put inside a Wasabi immutable bucket is protected. It's the ultimate in protection. The data you put into a bucket can't be changed for the specific period of time that you choose. If you put something in a Wasabi immutable bucket for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, that can never be changed. Wasabi people can't change it, and you can't change it. You can take it out and make different versions, but that data is safe and secure. It can't be held for ransom. As I said, all the data that comes into our network is encrypted. We have it encrypted at rest, but you don't have to worry about someone with a ransomware, ransomware type in their form in their mind that they're going to go in there, re-encrypt that, and then charge you for the key. it's not encryptable. So it's safe and secure. And that's why Wasabi has some of the best compliance and industry compliance in the world. HIPAA, CGIS, GDPR, Motion Picture Industry Association of the World, Motion Picture Industry Association certifications, and soon we'll see FERPA certification. So sleep well at night knowing that your data is well protected in Wasabi. And so I'm going to wrap it up in the next couple slides, and then we're going to open it up for some Q&A. We are great together because Wasabi is inexpensive. Right? We are less expensive than the competition in the cloud. Our low costs and are passed on to you, and built into the services from our partners like Caringo keeps the cost lower than anything else that's available out there. We have high performance. We keep all our data hot, so if you want that data back, it comes back to you within milliseconds. We start sending that back instead of spending hours or days to find. Caringo is fantastic. They eliminate the need to maintain secondary data centers. If you don't have a data center or don't want to maintain a data center, move it to Wasabi. Great place to be. And Caringo has a fantastic way to restore the original or entirely from a Swarm cluster or from Wasabi. Fantastic.
And David, let me add a little bit of flavor to that too.
Yeah.
Is that a disaster does not have to be the entire set of your content going away. It could be as small as one object or one bucket or a domain worth of content. You know, that's we can recover as granularly as that. It doesn't have to be, you know, all or nothing there. And also the design of the recovery was built around the idea that you may not have the same hardware, any of the same hardware available. So there's we've thought quite a bit about how you would eliminate the chicken and egg problem where, you know, I need to recover, but I don't have something, you know, I lost in whatever disaster, I lost the thing that I need to start the recovery.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. You know, like you said, because it's software defined, you choose the hardware you need, right? You're not bound by a specific proprietary hardware system.
Right.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric. All right. And so with that, if you're interested in learning more about Wasabi and Caringo and the solution and the partnership, you can always go to wasabi.com. Caringo is an important partner of ours. We have a dedicated landing page that identifies the features and advantages and the benefits of the Wasabi and Caringo solution. We have a knowledge base, actually probably a couple of knowledge base articles up there that describe how to set up a Wasabi account with Caringo and the steps you need to take with the user interfaces to make life easy and simple. And there's some solution briefs up there that describe what existing customers are doing with the Wasabi and Caringo solutions. So if you want to hit the website, you certainly can learn more. Caringo, I know, has a bunch of information there as well. Eric, you want to share with us how the best way is to get information at Caringo?
Certainly, thanks, David. So definitely come visit our website, caringo.com, and look under the products, and you'll find Swarm Cloud DR there. And if you prefer to email us, it's info@caringo.com.
Excellent. Thank you. And with that, we're going to open it up for some questions and answers. I know that some questions have been typed into the user interface as the webinar has gone on, so we'll take those. And I'd like to invite Chelsea to join us now. She's our woman behind the scenes managing the portal and the questions. And so, Chelsea, you want to jump in and share any questions that we might be able to answer?
Sure. Thanks, David. Thanks, Eric, so much for your time. Just want to remind everybody, if you have questions, feel free to drop them right below the video here. And it looks like we just got one. So this is a question for Wasabi. What happens if you have an immutable bucket and you end your contract with Wasabi? Does that data then go away?
That's a great question. It doesn't. So, for instance, if you set the bucket to be immutable for 3 years, you're on the hook for those 3 years. It doesn't go away. So there's a positive side where it can never be changed and it can be held for ransom, but there is a contractual side where you're also responsible for that for 3 years.
Great. And looks like that's all the questions we have for now. We'll give everybody just another moment in case you have any others. And again, we'll be following up after this presentation with an email thank you. And there are also some attachments below the question section of this video. Feel free to download those. There's a link to the slides and some other helpful content there. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up and say goodbye.
Excellent. Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody.